Go ahead.
Okay, so this is not Full Metal Jacket. What the hey?
It was
It's kind of.
confusing for us because I
I
think what
think it's.
happened
Someone
is,
did it.
no,
Okay, go
I
for it.
think the library got a box set with Full Metal Jacket and Stanley Kubrick boxes together, and they separated it. So I thought I was going to be watching Full Metal Jacket, and I was like, "What's this boxes thing?" And then I was thinking, well, maybe it's on the same disc or whatever. No, this is just boxes.
This is just boxes. It's a documentary, and you know the ultimate judgment from Pauline is you didn't even fall asleep. You went to bed. That's officially falling to sleep. Now I enjoyed it a lot more than Pauline. I watched it all the way through and stayed awake, and that's kind of unusual for me to stay awake, even through things that I like, right? So it's kind of interesting, you know. In some ways, I I shouldn't be this way, but I tend to prefer auteurs, like people like James Joyce. I don't care for that many other novelists because they're just not OCD enough to interest me.
Yep.
Same sort of thing with painters. I just don't care for slapdash painters. Like, it doesn't even have to be like Jackson Pollock or something like that. Who's the auteur? Well, in modern times, it's Salvador Dali. He actually cared. You know, he'd take months on some paintings and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then.
And he wasn't doing big things. They were just little.
They could be very small. He could do big things too, I think. But some of the things that I used to think were monumental, just seeing reproductions.
Well, I mean, some things are big, but they had to be, like the gallery thing of the Mae West vase or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. So.
But that's different, right? Like, that's not a function of.
He's just doing that to order. So yeah, it's not the usual artist thing. Hey, look at me! Look at me! Look at me! He did enough of that, I suppose, but. You know, as far as I'm concerned, he's worth looking at. Most 20th century artists. Oh my gosh, awful stuff. But there's a lot of slap. Rubens. Oh my gosh, big. I think they're big canvases. It's got apprentices or whatever they were called doing a lot of the stuff. You know, filling out the canvas. Did you know that? Tintoretto apparently was similar, working out of Venice. So, you know, and when it comes to directors, Stanley Kubrick, most directors, I don't know. Who wants to see that movie? Really? I mean, again and again, or whatever. So, anyway, boxes is about, I guess he was OCD about, and he was very good about it. Apparently he did files and so on and so forth. So it would have been a monumental task, but a relatively easy task for how monumental it was for those boxes when they were finally donated to some institution. I believe it's in London. So, and that's basically how it ends. It gets moved out of his house. I guess his house, Latterty is the name of it. I think he decided to move out of the United States because the United States wasn't left-wing enough for him. Frankly, I wouldn't be left-wing enough for him. You know, like when he glorifies Spartacus, and the communists glorified him. That's not what socialists should be glorifying. A gladiator and stuff like that. And stuff like that. So I don't know how far left he leaned, but you know, like I'm the kind of person who doesn't believe. People should be censored. Because of their political beliefs. I think their political beliefs are bad enough when their stuff gets published or whatever. And there should be a disclaimer. For example, Mein Kampf. There should be a disclaimer on every page that holds offense, maybe every paragraph. there are other foundational documents that should be applied to. I think Marxist spare that should be applied to. I'm not sure about that, but definitely Leninist, Stalinist, Maoist. Probably Castroist fair.
Anyway.
Che Guevara's fair and stuff like that. All the stuff should be published. But there should be disclaimers. There are more foundational documents where that should be. You know, stuff that's based on racism, like color or Varna, in Hindu stuff, all of it should be published, but there should be maybe a disclaimer on it. That's systemic racism as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, this is about his OCD stuff, and I found it kind of interesting. For eyes wide shut, just for particular gates, you have photographers going
Yeah, I
around
did see that part.
Picture after picture after picture, and the documentor or whatever you want to call him was asking some of his survivors, I think they were related. He didn't look at all those photos, and they said, "Oh yeah." They were saying he didn't like vacations, and I can kind of relate to that. When I take a vacation, it's like I try to get something out of it that I can use for whatever. So when we go hiking, we're thinking about writing poetry based on it or whatever, right? So, anyway, is it worth watching? Depends on how OCD you are about Stanley Kubrick, let's say. I wouldn't recommend it for average person.
Yeah, I went to bed. So
there you go.
Wasn't. I mean, I like some of Stanley Kubrick stuff.
I think most people find this stuff too OCD.
I didn't like Eyes Wide Shut.
I don't think that one was finished. I think he died before we finished it out.
Anyway.
I thought he did a pretty good job with two of it, not the greatest actors in the world. Although we have seen Tom Cruise dressed down, with a fake poncho and hair balded up. It was pretty good. I can't remember what that movie was. A comedy.
Sometimes he does very well. That was that one with what was that?
Ben
called?
Stiller. Was Ben Stiller?
Yeah, he was in it too.
Forgot.
It was a great movie.
I thought it was quite fun.
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr.
I'd forgotten he was in it. But
Yeah, he was.
I think it was basically a Ben Stiller product. No.
Anyway. Yeah, well, I like this.
Yeah, I like him pretty good.
Anyhow, did you want to talk about David Suzuki's interview yesterday? I think it was from yesterday.
It's been on several times.
Has it been?
Sometimes these interviews, they'll
Yeah,
have
and
them again and again.
anyway,
and
he
again.
was talking about how